The sound of engines echoed across the vast halls of Galactic Terminal 7, a place where hundreds of alien languages blended together like a storm. Ships from 100 worlds waited at their gates, flashing bright lights, preparing to leave for the stars. Among the rushing travelers was a young human named Eli Parker. His heart raced as he weaved through the crowd, clutching his small travel bag. This was supposed to be the most important day of his life, his first job off-world, the ticket to his future. He checked the glowing panel on his wrist device. Gate 92, final boarding. Oh no. He muttered under his breath and began to run. Eli had always dreamed of working among the stars. Born on a poor colony world, he had saved for years to buy this ticket. He wanted to prove that humans, still considered a young species by many aliens, could stand as equals in the great galactic community. He rushed past alien merchants selling glowing fruits, security droids shouting orders, and a family of scaled creatures hurrying in the opposite direction. His boots hit the shining floor in quick rhythm. He could see the glowing number 92 at the end of the corridor. He was almost there, and then he heard it, a small, fragile voice. "Please, someone, help me." He stopped. The voice came from behind a service cart near the wall. He turned and saw an elderly alien woman struggling to lift a heavy metallic case. Her skin shimmered like silver silk, her long robes torn at the edges. The crowd ignored her completely, rushing past as if she didn't exist. Eli hesitated. Every second counted. His ship was about to leave. He looked back toward the gate. The boarding light was flashing red. Last call. But the old woman stumbled again, dropping the case. The sharp sound of metal hitting the floor made him flinch. Something inside him couldn't just walk away. He sighed, ran toward her, and said gently, "Ma'am, let me help." The alien lifted her tired eyes, surprise softening her wrinkled face. "You would stop for me?" she asked, her voice trembling. Eli smiled. "Yeah, nobody should be left struggling alone." He bent down, grabbed the heavy case, and lifted it with both hands. The weight surprised him, but he managed. "Where are you headed?" he asked. "Gate 47, she replied softly. "That's the other side of the terminal," Eli said, half laughing in disbelief. But he didn't stop. Together they walked slowly through the crowd, the young human carrying her luggage, the old alien leaning slightly on his arm for balance. People stared. Some laughed. A group of blue-skinned travelers whispered, "Humans always trying to show off." But Eli ignored them. He only cared about helping her reach her ship safely. When they arrived at Gate 47, the boarding lights were already dim. "Thank you, young one," the woman said kindly. "You have a good heart." Eli nodded. "Take care, ma'am. Have a safe journey." He turned and sprinted back toward his own gate, hoping he still had time. His heart pounded. He pushed through the crowd, out of breath, his shoes sliding across the floor as he reached Gate 92. But it was too late. The gate door was sealed. The flight assistant, a tall insectoid being, looked at him with cold mechanical eyes. "I am sorry, human. Boarding has concluded. The ship is now in launch sequence." Eli's heart sank. He stared out through the transparent glass wall, watching his ship slowly lift off the platform and disappear into the darkness of space. His dream gone in seconds, he tried to explain. "Please, I was just..." The assistant cut him off. "Regulations are clear. No exceptions." A group of alien passengers waiting nearby snickered. One of them muttered, "Humans are always late." Another said, "He'll learn. The galaxy doesn't wait for soft hearts." Eli stepped away silently. He didn't argue. He just stood there, staring at the stars where his ship had vanished. For a long moment he felt small, smaller than ever before. Around him, ships continued to depart. People shouted, lights flashed, life moved on. But for him, everything had stopped. He sat down on a nearby bench, holding his travel bag tightly. His thoughts swirled like a storm. Why did I stop? Why couldn't I just walk past her? Then he shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Because that's who I am," he whispered. "And I'd do it again." He didn't notice the tiny drone camera floating above him, watching silently. Somewhere in the upper decks of the terminal, a figure watched his every move on a glowing screen. The same elderly alien woman, now dressed in fine robes, surrounded by royal guards. She smiled faintly. "He passed," she murmured. Down below, Eli still had no idea that his small act of kindness had already changed his fate. He thought he had just missed a flight. But in truth, destiny had just boarded him for something much greater. Hours passed after Eli missed his flight. The shining lights of the terminal had grown dull and the busy crowd had thinned. He sat on a cold bench staring at the empty gate where his ship had once been. His hands rested on his small bag, all that he owned in the galaxy. A cleaning droid rolled by, humming softly. Somewhere in the distance, an announcement echoed. Gate 92 now closed. Departure complete. The words felt like a punch to his heart. He had no credits left for another ticket, no friends on this planet, and no place to stay. For the first time, he wondered if his kindness had been foolish. Then a gentle voice broke through the silence. You look lost, young human. Eli turned and saw the same elderly alien woman he had helped earlier. Madra. She was holding a small walking stick and smiling faintly. Madra, Eli said in surprise. I thought you already boarded your ship. She chuckled softly. Old bones don't move fast and I had to stay behind for personal reasons. Her eyes gleamed, wise and unreadable. But you missed your flight because of me, didn't you? Eli smiled weakly. It's okay. I made my choice. She studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. Few would do what you did. The galaxy has forgotten what compassion means. Before Eli could reply, Madra reached into her robe and pulled out 2 food packages. You haven't eaten, have you? She asked kindly. He tried to refuse, but his stomach betrayed him with a loud growl. She laughed softly. Then it settled. Eat. They sat together at a small corner table in the terminal cafe. Outside the large glass windows, ships took off one after another, leaving trails of blue light behind. Eli ate quietly, still thinking about his lost chance. Madra watched him carefully. So, she said, why were you leaving your world? Eli took a deep breath. I got accepted into a job program on Helios Station. It's far away, but I wanted to start fresh. I've been saving for that ticket for 2 years. Madra nodded slowly. 2 years for one dream. And yet you gave it up for a stranger. He smiled faintly. Maybe dreams aren't worth it if you have to step over someone to reach them. For a long moment she said nothing. Then her voice softened. Humans are strange creatures. So young in this galaxy, yet your hearts carry something ancient. Eli chuckled. I don't know about ancient, just human. Madra's eyes glowed faintly under the cafe lights. There was something about her presence, calm, wise, and powerful, that Eli couldn't quite explain. She didn't feel like a normal traveler. Suddenly, 2 armored security officers entered the cafe. Their helmets gleamed silver and the symbol of the Galactic crown was etched on their shoulders. One of them spoke into a communicator. We've lost track of her signal, but she was last seen near this level. Madra's hand froze around her cup. Eli noticed it. Are you okay? He asked quietly. She forced a smile. Just old memories, she whispered. Then she stood up, gently touching his shoulder. Thank you for your company, Eli Parker. But I must go now, he blinked. Wait, how do you know my name? She smiled sadly. Names travel faster than ships. Before he could ask more, she turned and walked into the crowd, disappearing behind a group of travelers. The 2 officers glanced in her direction, then hurried after her. But by the time they reached the corner, she was gone. Eli sat there, confused. Something wasn't right. The way the guard spoke, the way Madra vanished. None of it made sense. He looked down at the table and noticed something glimmering beside his hand, a small metallic coin with strange alien runes carved into it. He picked it up. The metal felt warm, almost alive. It wasn't just money. It was something else. As he studied it, he heard a low hum. The coin emitted a faint pulse of blue light, then dimmed again. He glanced around nervously, but no one seemed to notice. What are you, old lady? He whispered. Outside the window, thunder rolled through the upper atmosphere. Storm clouds flashed against the sky as another transport lifted off the runway. Eli pocketed the coin and leaned back in his chair, lost in thought. He had missed his dream. He had helped a stranger, and now somehow that stranger had vanished, leaving behind something that felt far too important to be an accident. He didn't know it yet, but every security network in the terminal was now showing her image. The announcement echoed again. Attention all units. High priority search. Target identified as Lady Madra of the Galactic line. Missing from official escort. Eli froze. His heart skipped a beat. Lady Madra, the owner of the largest interstellar airline in the sector, and she had been sitting right there, sharing food with him. He looked toward the storming night sky, realization slowly dawning. The human who missed his flight might just have met the most powerful being in the galaxy. The next morning, the terminal was quiet, too quiet. Eli woke up in the corner of a rest area, the same metallic bench where he'd fallen asleep the night before. His back ached and his mouth was dry. For a few seconds, he forgot where he was. Then the events of the night before came rushing back. The missed flight, the old alien woman, the strange coin. He sat up quickly and checked his pocket. The coin was still there. It was smooth and silver gray, etched with delicate glowing symbols that seemed to shift when he turned it. When he held it closer, faint lines of light traced across his palm like veins of energy. He frowned. "What are you exactly?" he whispered. But before he could think further, a deep voice echoed across the terminal speakers. "Attention all personnel. Security alert level 3. A royal dignitary has gone missing within the facility. Report any suspicious behavior immediately." Eli froze. Royal dignitary. That had to be Madra. He looked around nervously. Security droids glided across the floor, scanning faces. A group of armored guards walked past, their armor gleaming under the lights. He heard one of them whisper, "She's not supposed to be traveling alone." "The Crown's furious." Eli's stomach twisted. "Did I get involved in something dangerous?" He took out the coin again, staring at it. Then, faintly, it pulsed with blue light and projected a tiny holographic image. It was Madra's face. Her voice was soft and calm. "If you're seeing this, Eli Parker, then I'm gone. Do not be afraid. The coin will guide you." Eli blinked in shock. "Gone? What do you mean, gone?" The hologram flickered. "Follow the light when it calls. Trust no one in uniform." Then it vanished. For a few seconds, he just sat there, speechless. The faint hum from the coin continued, as if alive. A security guard's shadow passed nearby. Eli quickly slipped the coin back into his pocket and grabbed his bag. His mind was racing. She knew my name. She planned this. He started walking fast, keeping his head down. Cameras were mounted everywhere, small black eyes following every move. He could feel the weight of them as he passed. When he reached the edge of the terminal, he stopped near a glass window overlooking the starport. Lightning flashed across the cloudy sky, reflecting against the rows of ships parked below. His reflection looked back at him, tired, nervous, uncertain. Then the coin buzzed again. A single beam of blue light shot out and pointed toward the far corridor. Maintenance Tunnel 7B. Eli hesitated. It was restricted. Signs warned, "Authorized personnel only." He sighed. "I guess rules don't matter anymore," he muttered and followed the light. The tunnel was dark and quiet, the air filled with the smell of metal and ozone. He passed pipes that hissed with steam and old cargo crates stacked against the walls. His footsteps echoed. At the end of the passage, he found a hidden hatch half open. The coin glowed brighter, urging him forward. Inside, the room was small and filled with strange equipment. Holographic screens, sealed crates marked with royal symbols, and a large map projected in the air. In the center of the map was the crest of the Galactic line, the same company that owned the airline he was supposed to fly with. Eli took a step closer. "This is her." Before he could study it, the hologram flickered again. Madra's image appeared once more, faint but clear. "Eli Parker," she said gently. "I wanted to see how far a human's kindness could go. You have already proven what most forget, that compassion still exists among the stars. But there are those who wish to silence me. My company has enemies, dangerous ones." Eli's eyes widened. "I cannot stay," she continued, "but I left something behind, something only you can deliver. The code on this coin will open a transmission vault. Inside it lies proof that could change everything." Her image shimmered. "You'll find the vault at Dock 47. Trust your instincts and be brave, my friend. The galaxy needs more like you." Then the hologram faded, leaving only silence. Eli stood still for a moment, trying to breathe. His pulse pounded in his ears. He didn't understand everything she said, but one thing was clear. Madra was in danger, and somehow, she had chosen him to continue her mission. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed from behind the tunnel entrance. He turned. 2 security officers were scanning the area. One of them pointed toward the open hatch. "Over there." "Someone's been here." Eli panicked. He grabbed his bag and stuffed the coin back inside. His eyes darted around the room. There was another exit, a narrow ventilation shaft. Without thinking, he climbed inside, crawling fast through the metal passage. The sound of boots grew louder behind him. "Stop, you there!" But Eli didn't stop. He crawled until his arms burned, until he saw light at the end of the shaft. When he finally pushed himself out, he landed on the lower deck near the cargo bays. He was sweating, shaking, akin but free. The coin glowed again in his pocket, pulsing softly, as if alive. He looked toward the distant Dock 47. Ships hummed in preparation for departure. Somewhere out there was the next clue, and maybe the truth about Madra. Eli took a deep breath. He was just a simple human who had missed a flight. Now he was being hunted and didn't even know why, but one thing burned inside him stronger than fear. He wanted answers, and he would find them. The lower cargo decks of the terminal were nothing like the bright upper halls. Down here the lights flickered and the air was thick with smoke from heavy engines. Echoes of machinery filled the metal corridors and every step sounded too loud. Eli moved carefully, clutching his bag close to his chest. His heart still pounded from the chase. He had escaped the guards by crawling through a vent, but he knew they wouldn't stop looking for him. Somewhere above, security drones buzzed through the terminal like silent hunters. He found a dark corner behind a stack of crates and sat down for a moment to catch his breath. His hands were shaking. "What have I gotten myself into?" he whispered. He took out the strange coin again. It felt warm, almost as if it had a heartbeat of its own. When he turned it in his fingers, it began to glow faintly, casting soft blue light on the walls. Then it projected a small holographic image, not of Madra this time, but a map. A pulsing line pointed toward Dock 47, the same location she had mentioned in her last message. "All right," Eli muttered. "Dock 47 it is?" He stood, adjusted his jacket, and began moving through the cargo bay. The path was narrow, filled with pipes, control panels, and storage units labeled in alien languages he couldn't read. Every few minutes he heard footsteps above him, guards still searching. Their metallic boots clanged on the metal floors, echoing like thunder. He had to move quietly. Halfway through the corridor, the coin vibrated again. A soft hum filled the air, and a small blue beam scanned the walls. Suddenly, a hidden door slid open, revealing a dim tunnel behind it. Eli blinked. "Guess that's my invitation." He stepped inside. The tunnel was long and curved, lined with strange glowing veins running through the walls. The deeper he went, the quieter it became, until even the hum of machinery faded away. At the end of the tunnel stood a large round chamber. In the center floated a strange device, a cluster of crystal-like structures rotating slowly in the air, glowing with pale white light. As he approached, the coin in his hand began to react. The same symbols engraved on it appeared on the device. He reached out carefully, and the coin rose from his palm, floating in front of the machine. Then a voice filled the chamber, soft, echoing, familiar. "Eli Parker, you followed the light. Good." It was Madra's voice again, but this time calmer, like a recording meant only for him. "You are standing in the heart of the signal chamber," she said. "This place holds my final message, and the truth about why I vanished." Eli listened silently as the crystal projection changed, forming images. A younger Madra standing before a council of alien nobles, her eyes fierce and determined. "My company, the Galactic Line, was built on unity," her voice continued, "but not everyone wanted peace. Many powerful houses profit from division, from keeping humans and other new species weak." The projection shifted, showing shadowy figures, alien leaders, military symbols, and ships bearing unfamiliar flags. I discovered their secret trade, weapons, slaves, even living minds sold for war. When I tried to stop them, they turned against me. They want my silence. That's why I disappeared. Eli's eyes widened. He could hardly believe what he was hearing. "You're saying this is a conspiracy?" The voice continued, ignoring his whisper. "The coin you carry contains proof. It will unlock the transmission vault hidden inside one of my ships, the Horizon Star, docked at Bay 47. Deliver it to the Central Network Core before they find you." Then the light dimmed slightly. "And Eli, I watched you help a stranger with no hope of reward. That is why I chose you. You may be human, but your kindness makes you something rarer, a soul the galaxy still needs." The message faded and silence returned to the chamber. Eli stood there, trembling slightly. His mind was spinning. Weapons, conspiracies, royal betrayal, all connected to a woman he met only yesterday. Before he could think further, a sudden sound broke the silence. Footsteps, harsh, heavy, and close. The tunnel lights flashed red as the chamber door slid open. 2 armed guards stepped inside, weapons glowing. "There he is!" one shouted. Eli's heart jumped. Without thinking, he grabbed the coin out of the air and dashed toward a small exit panel on the right. Laser fire burned past his head, melting the metal walls. He stumbled through the opening and fell into another maintenance shaft, rolling across the floor. Alarms blared across the deck. The coin in his hand pulsed again, faster now, guiding him like a living compass. He followed it through the maze of tunnels until he burst out onto the open loading platform. Wind and rain hit his face. The night sky above the port glowed with lightning, and in the distance, Dock 47 stood, guarded by patrols, lights flickering, and ships humming with power. Eli stared at it, determination burning in his eyes. He didn't fully understand what was happening, but he knew one thing. Madra had trusted him with something huge, something worth risking everything for. He looked at the coin one last time. Its blue light flickered like a heartbeat, echoing his own. Then he whispered, "All right, Lady Madra, I'll see this through." And with that, he ran into the storm and toward Dock 47, toward the truth, and toward a destiny far bigger than one missed flight. Rain poured down like silver needles across the starport as Eli Parker ran through the storm. Every ship bay roared with power, and lightning cracked across the clouds above. He kept his head low, his clothes soaked, the strange glowing coin tight in his hand. Dock 47 loomed ahead, a massive hangar surrounded by guards and drones. The huge doors were half open, revealing silhouettes of engineers and cargo workers moving about. Above the entrance hung a metal sign, the Horizon Star, property of the Galactic line. Eli stopped behind a stack of supply crates, catching his breath. "This is it," he whispered. "Her ship." The coin pulsed faintly, projecting a narrow blue beam that pointed toward the hangar's inner control deck. He needed to reach it. Somewhere in there was the transmission vault Madra mentioned, the proof she wanted him to deliver. But the guards were everywhere. He watched them carefully, 2 at the door, 3 walking along the platforms, and drones scanning the air. Every few seconds, red lights swept across the rain, searching for intruders. Eli wiped the water from his face and whispered to himself, "Just one chance." He waited until a cargo hauler passed by, its loud engines covering his movement, then slipped through the side maintenance door. The inside of the hangar was vast and echoing, filled with shadows and flickering lights. The Horizon Star stood before him like a sleeping beast, a royal cruiser with silver plating and blue markings, sleek and powerful. Its engines hummed softly even while idle. He moved quietly along the walkway, trying to stay unseen. The coin buzzed again, vibrating stronger than before. "All right, I'm here," he muttered. "Now what?" A faint light glimmered on the far side of the control deck, a small access terminal glowing with the same blue color as the coin. That had to be it. He crouched behind a railing and sprinted toward it, his boots splashing through puddles. But just as he reached the console, "Stop right there, human." The voice thundered from behind him. Eli froze. He turned slowly. 3 armored guards stood near the entrance, weapons raised. Their leader, a tall alien officer with reptilian scales, stepped forward, eyes cold. "You've caused quite a mess," the officer hissed. "Do you even know whose ship you're trespassing on?" Eli clenched his fists. "Yes, Lady Madra's. She told me to come." The officer laughed harshly. "Lady Madra's gone. And if she spoke to you, then you're a loose end we must remove." Before Eli could reply, one of the guards lunged forward. Instinct took over. Eli ducked, grabbed a metal pipe from the floor, and swung it across the guard's arm. The weapon clattered to the ground, firing a wild shot that hit a control panel. Sparks burst everywhere, alarms blaring through the hangar. Red lights flashed. Drones descended from the ceiling, scanning the chaos. "Seize him," the officer shouted. Eli backed away, his heart racing. He turned and slammed his hand, with the coin still in it, against the glowing terminal. For a second, nothing happened. Then the screen blazed to life, scanning the coin's pattern. "Identity confirmed and royal access authorized." A deep voice filled the hangar speakers. Override accepted. Command priority, Lady Madra of the Galactic line. The guards froze. The officer's eyes widened. Impossible. She's dead. But the massive ship behind them, the Horizon Star, suddenly began to awaken. Its engines roared to life, flooding the room with light and wind. A holographic figure appeared above the deck, Madra herself dressed in regal robes, her eyes calm and commanding. Enough, her voice thundered, echoing across the hangar. Stand down, Commander. Everyone stopped moving. Even the drones hovered silently. Eli stared up at her glowing image, barely breathing. Madra's gaze turned toward him. You kept your promise, Eli Parker. You followed the light even when darkness surrounded you. The officer stepped back, trembling. My lady, we thought, Madra interrupted sharply. You thought wrong. You conspired against me. You betrayed the company that fed you. And now your deceit ends. The hologram's light shifted, projecting documents, codes, and communications in the air. Proof of the corruption she had spoken of. The guards lowered their weapons, realizing they were exposed. Eli watched in awe as the truth unfolded before him. He had never seen such power, not in weapons, but in justice. Madra's tone softened as she looked back at him. You were never meant to miss your flight, Eli. Destiny delayed you to remind this galaxy that compassion still rules over greed. Eli swallowed hard, his voice breaking. I didn't do anything special, I just helped someone. Madra smiled gently. And that, human, is what makes you special. The hologram faded. The storm outside grew quiet. The officer and guards dropped their weapons, their rebellion crushed by truth alone. Eli stood alone in the center of the hangar, the coin still glowing in his hand. He felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Pride, but also peace. He looked up at the massive ship before him, the Horizon Star, shining under the stormlight. It was more than a vessel now. It was a symbol of everything Madra had believed in, and now it was calling to him. The storm outside had calmed, but the hangar still glowed with the light of 1,000 alarms. Eli stood there, chest heaving, surrounded by silence and disbelief. The hologram of Lady Madra had vanished, but her voice still echoed in his mind. Around him, the guards stared at one another, uncertain. The officer who had once barked orders now stood trembling, staring at the floor. For the first time in his life, Eli, a simple human traveler, was the calmest person in the room. The blue light from the coin pulsed gently in his palm. It felt warm now, almost comforting, like a heartbeat syncing with his own. Then a voice spoke behind him, gentle and familiar. You handled yourself well, Eli Parker, he turned sharply. Standing near the edge of the hangar ramp, framed by the soft glow of the ship's engines, was Madra herself, not a hologram this time, but real, alive, and radiant. She wore a long silver cloak that shimmered like starlight, her eyes deep and knowing. The rain clung to her robe, glistening like tiny jewels. You're alive? Eli breathed. Madra smiled faintly. Did you think I'd leave before seeing how my test ends? He blinked, trying to process her words. Test? She walked closer, her steps slow but sure. The guards instinctively stepped aside, bowing their heads. Even the officer who had tried to capture Eli lowered his weapon. Yes, she said softly. A test of kindness. Madra stopped in front of him, her expression calm. The Galactic line grew powerful. Too powerful. Wealth replaced compassion. My advisors believed that kindness was weakness. So I disguised myself as an ordinary traveler to see if even one soul among the stars would still help, without expecting reward. Eli's mouth went dry. So when I stopped for you, you passed, she said simply. You proved what most of my kind have forgotten. That true strength isn't measured by credits or ships, but by heart. Her words hit him like a wave. For a moment, Eli didn't know what to say. He had thought his life was ordinary, a human trying to survive in a galaxy that barely noticed him. But now this was something else. Madra turned to the others. Commander Threx, she said firmly, you will report to the royal court and face judgment. The corruption ends today. The reptilian officer nodded, his face pale, his voice trembling. As you command, my lady. She faced Eli again, her expression softening. You changed the course of my company, and perhaps the galaxy itself. Compassion has power that technology will never match. He shook his head, still overwhelmed. I didn't mean to change anything. I just saw someone who needed help, Madra smiled. And that is exactly why you did. She reached into her robe and pulled out a small metallic badge, shaped like a star with 7 points. It shimmered with golden light. This is the insignia of Chief Liaison of the Galactic Line, a position that bridges humanity and the great species of the stars. I can think of no one more worthy. Eli's eyes widened. You're offering me a job? Madra chuckled softly. No, Eli Parker. I'm offering you purpose. He hesitated, looking down at his worn clothes, his tired hands. I'm just a simple human. Madra's voice grew firm. There is no such thing as simple. Every species, every being starts with one act of choice. Yours was kindness, and the galaxy needs more of it. The hangar fell silent again. Even the storm outside seemed to pause, listening. Eli took the badge with both hands. It was heavy, but it felt right. If this means helping others, then I'll do it. Madra's smile deepened. Then you've already begun. She raised her hand, signaling the guards. Prepare the Horizon Star. We leave for the High Council at dawn. As they moved to obey, Madra looked out toward the vast darkness beyond the open hangar doors. The storm clouds were clearing, and far in the distance the stars began to shine again, sharp, clear, and endless. Eli followed her gaze. For years he had dreamed of reaching the stars. Now they didn't seem so far anymore. Madra turned back to him. Remember this, Eli Parker, ships can cross galaxies, but hearts build worlds. Never let the stars make you forget who you are. He nodded, emotion thick in his voice. I won't. The engines of the Horizon Star began to hum again, casting golden light across the floor. Eli felt a strange mix of awe and peace, as if everything he had ever wanted had led him right here. The human who had missed his flight had just found his destiny. The Horizon Star drifted through the endless dark like a silver arrow cutting across the void. Its engines glowed softly blue, whispering through the stars. From the captain's deck, Eli Parker stood at the viewing glass, watching galaxies slide by like rivers of light. Only weeks had passed since that night in the storm, yet everything had changed. The human who once missed his flight now stood as the chief liaison of the Galactic Line, a bridge between species once divided by pride and fear. But Eli didn't wear fine uniforms or walk with guards. He still dressed simply, carried the same old travel bag, and spoke the same humble words. He hadn't become powerful. He had become something far more important, trusted. Across the galaxy, his story had spread like wildfire. The tale of the human who missed his flight to help a stranger became a message of hope, a reminder that one act of kindness could change the fate of worlds. Holoscreens across stations replayed the moment Madra's hologram had declared the truth. Crowds had cheered. Merchants named drinks after him. Children whispered his name like a legend, but Eli never let it go to his head. He still remembered the tired old woman in the terminal. Her shaking hands, her gentle eyes. She had tested his heart, and in doing so, revealed the soul of the galaxy itself. Now standing on the bridge, he turned to see Lady Madra entering quietly. She moved more slowly these days, her health fading, but her spirit seemed eternal. Couldn't sleep again, Eli? She asked softly. He smiled faintly. Too many stars, not enough dreams, Madra chuckled. The same answer you gave me the first night on this ship. They stood side by side, watching the vastness together. Outside, a comet passed by, a brilliant streak of white fire crossing the dark. Madra's gaze softened. You've done more than I ever hoped. Humans are now welcomed in the Royal Council. The colonies are rebuilding. The Galactic Line carries peace again instead of secrets. Eli looked down modestly. You gave me that chance, Madra shook her head. No. You earned it the moment you stopped for an old woman in a crowded terminal. He smiled quietly. I still remember the crowd laughing at me. And yet you helped anyway, she said. That is the strength this galaxy has long forgotten. For a while they just watched the stars in silence. The hum of the engines was soft, steady, like a heartbeat echoing through metal and time. Then Madra's voice turned low. There will come a day, Eli, when I will no longer walk these halls. When that day comes, this ship and everything it stands for will belong to you. He turned sharply. Madra, no. She raised her hand gently. It is the way of things. Every journey ends so another can begin. Promise me when it's your turn you'll keep it flying, not as a ship but as a symbol. Eli swallowed hard. I promise, Madra smiled, a faint glow in her eyes. Then I can rest easy. She turned and walked slowly back toward the lift, her cloak shimmering like moonlight. As the doors closed behind her, Eli stood there alone, staring into the stars, and for the first time he truly understood what destiny meant. Years later, the galaxy had changed. New colonies thrived, old borders fell, and every ship of the Galactic line now bore a simple inscription across its hull. Compassion is strength. On the great memorial platform of Earth's orbital station, a towering statue stood, a man offering his hand to a weary alien traveler. At its base, the words read, "He missed his flight, but reached the stars." Crowds gathered often beneath it, humans, aliens, and hybrids of every kind. Children asked their parents who the man was. The answer was always the same: a human who chose kindness. And above them, the horizon star still roamed the skies, captained by Eli Parker. His hair had turned silver now, but his heart was unchanged. He spoke to every new recruit the same words Madra had once told him: ships may cross galaxies, but hearts build worlds. Remember that. He stood on the bridge, looking out into the endless night, his reflection merging with the stars beyond. Somewhere in the endless black, he imagined Madra's voice whispering through the void, proud, gentle, eternal. "Thank you, Eli Parker." He smiled faintly and whispered back, "No, thank you." The engines roared softly as the ship turned toward a new sunrise. A small act of kindness had once delayed his journey, but it had also written his legacy. And in the quiet hum of the cosmos, the story of the human who missed his flight lived on, not as a tale of luck or fate, but as proof that even one good heart can change the stars.